All right. Good evening, everybody. How's everyone doing tonight? Just trying to share the feed tonight to my Facebook page. Looks like it just went. So we're in good shape there. This new technology we got is awesome. Like one push of the button and you're on Facebook, you're on YouTube. It's really nice. Perfect. All right. Well, hey, this will be the first day that I've done this that it wasn't sunny and warm and beautiful all day. I was on my way to Clio this evening to do some work, and it got rained on. So it was a little different. Still nice, pretty nice day still, but I actually had to plan my day yesterday and today around rain. So that was a little different for this summer. I hadn't had to do that much. It was kind of a bummer. All right. But we changed plans, switched some stuff around, and we made the best of it, and we got it all fitted in. So it is what it is. Just ended up working a little bit later. So got home late tonight, 8. My mom and dad called me. Pastor Ed called me. Next thing you know, it's 9 o'clock. So here we go. Oh, hopefully everyone's doing well. I've been trying to find some coverage of the hurricane stuff that was from down south. I see the Southern Baptist Convention disaster relief people have already left and are heading down to the Louisiana area, so that's pretty cool to be a part of that. Pretty cool that some of our money that we put in the tithe plate that we donate each week goes directly to that stuff. Like our tithing money, our dollars that we give is literally on a truck headed towards Louisiana to help people. They're some of the first people there, so that's pretty cool to think about that way. Is our money is already en route to help people who are going to be needing it very, very desperately. I haven't seen how bad it is, but I heard that it's not good at all, so we'll see. Hopefully not Katrina bad. Hopefully not Katrina bad. So after I get off of here, I'm actually going to jump on and try to see if I can see some stuff, because I'm interested by that stuff. So, I don't know if I almost hesitate to say this. Like, could the world get any crazier? Like every day, every week, like every turn, it seems like some other thing is going on and coming at us. So it's crazy. Crazy. All right, let me switch off of here, get over to the devotional for tonight. So the title of the devotional for tonight is Quality Service. Quality Service. After reading this, if I was to give it a title, I would give it a title of Motive Matters. Motive Matters. So he gave it a title of Quality Service. I would have gave it a title of Motive Matters. So once I read it and go through it, you can judge for yourself maybe what the better title would be, or maybe you come up with a whole title all your own that you thought would maybe be better. So, but I would like to call it Motive Matters, but he called it Quality Service. So it says this: the great weight of exhortation these days is in the direction of zeal and activity. Everybody's always trying to be. I heard a saying a couple of years ago when I first started going back to school. There's a vast difference between being busy and being productive, right? Lots and lots and lots of people are busy. Not a lot of people are actually productive. Like, you can spend a lot of time running your wheels off, and you're doing just that, spinning your wheels. You're not really getting anywhere. You're not really getting anything done. You're not being productive. You're just really busy. You know, like in the business world, that's very much a thing. You know, if you have to really watch profit and revenue and cost and all of those things. you can be as busy as you want to be in a business, but if you're not making any money, what's the point, right? All you're doing is causing yourself to be tired and stressed and all those things, and you're not really getting anywhere. So just kind of filter that through your process. Busy and productive are two totally different things most times. If you're busy and you're productive, now you're in a pretty good spot, right? So it says the great weight of exhortation these days is in the direction of zeal and activity. Let's get going is the favorite watchword for gospel workers, with the result that everyone feels ashamed to just sit down and think and almost like take it easy and try to connect with God and think their way through the process. It's just, let's get going, let's do. And it's almost shameful if you just want to sit and slow down and think and pray your way through some stuff first. So it says, but it will pay to do it nevertheless. It would be a shock to most of us to learn just what God thinks of our breathless activity. And a greater shock to many to find out the true quality of service as God sees it. So he's basically laying the foundation for most times, or a lot of times, God sees our service much differently than we see our service. And so we'll get into some more of that here in just a minute. But it says, for not all religious activity is accepted of God. Not even when it appears to produce results and get things done. The Lord seeth not as man seeth. Christian service, to be accepted of God, must be fresh and must be sincere. Whatever is done out of habit is not approved. Anything done in a perfunctory manner is below the level of quality accepted of us. Then he goes on to say, the careless song, the sermon preached for no higher reason than it's Sunday morning and it's time to preach a sermon again, the tithe tossed into the plate, the testimony given because it seems the right thing to do, not one of those will stand up under the searching eyes of God. And then this last sentence, this is the closing sentence. This is where I got my title from, and it really wraps up the whole thing very well. It says, in Christian service, motive is everything. In Christian service, motive is everything. For it is motive that gives to every moral act its final quality. So it's for motive that gives to every moral act its final quality. So when I read that, I thought back to like when I was a teenager and when my mom and dad would ask and tell me to do certain things. And now that I am a dad and I have teenagers, the kind of the battles that we have going back and forth about things that get done, things that don't get done. And I try to think about that and view that from God's perspective towards us. And what I mean by that is, why my kids do what they do is just as important, almost as important as what they do. Does that make sense? Motive matters. That's where I got my title. I try to give my kids a pretty long leash on a lot of things. And I try to give them a lot of freedom to learn their own lessons and try to see life through their own little context and to do all those things. And their Christianity is part of that. I try to give them directions and try to give them a stable environment and all those things. But I try to let them kind of figure that out, because I think you learn best when you just go and do, And so the idea that motive is everything, motive matters. My kids have done some things well. My kids have done some things not very well. And I can remember having conversations with them about, why did you do that? Right? Why did you do that? And what I was asking them is, I was trying to figure out their motive for doing it, right? And so it instantly rewinds me back to when I was a teenager and my dad asking me, like, why in the world did you do that? And if they can explain to me their reasoning, their motive for it, and it's a good reason, it's a good motive, but maybe it just didn't get played out very well. Maybe just the follow through or the action of it didn't go as they had planned. But their intention was pure. Their intention was good. The motive was good, but maybe just the follow through wasn't so good. Well, they're kids. They're teenagers. Like, they're not always going to hit a home run. Like, they're not always going to do what they think that they're going to do, right? But if the motive is there, if the intentionality is right, then that's what I'm looking for, right? And so I think it's the same thing with God. And now that I've had kids, it kind of gives me sometimes a little introspective on kind of, I think, what God, how he views us. You know, if Kylie does something dumb, I ask her, I question her, why did you do that? You know, God doesn't have to ask me. God already knows, right? But so in Christian service, motive is everything. For it is motive that gives to every moral act its final quality. And so, you know, I've done some things that I wanted to do for God, right? They weren't necessarily things God was asking me to do for him. Like, I wasn't exactly operating in God's will. I was trying to act in my will and just asking God to follow along with my will. You know, that doesn't really work very well. And so that leads me into the thought for tonight. It says, for the believer, there is no secular/sacred dichotomy. You know, there is no back and forth. There is no secular and sacred dichotomy. All is sacred, whether carrying out work in the office, the school, the shop, the home, the sporting event, whatever role it is you play. You know, like I say all the time, you know, I'm a husband and a dad and a brother and a son and a business owner and a friend and a part-time pastor, and I'm all of these things. Like, I play many roles in many different areas. But of all of those roles, there's one thing that is common to all of them. They all come out of the base of, I'm a Christian. So I'm a Christian dad, I'm a Christian husband, I'm a Christian business owner, I'm a Christian friend, I'm a Christian, you know, every one of those things comes out of the base of Christianity. And so there is no dichotomy between what do I have that's secular and what do I have that's sacred. It's all the same, or at least it should be. I mean, I don't always do it perfect, I don't always do it right, but that's the idea of it, is it's always to be the sacred, not really this, well, I'm going to make this a secular thing because I really don't want my two worlds to collide. And so then he finishes the thought with, we may do all that we do to the glory of God. And so when we talk about service, if I rewind back to the start of my Christian walk, one of the first things that I did, or one of the first kind of roles or assignments that we got, was teaching in children's church. And if I'm being honest, like, I don't know how I ended up teaching in children's church, other than they needed somebody and Mindy volunteered us. Children's church is not my thing. Like, trying to teach like 3rd and 4th and 5th graders is not my thing, right? But it was service. And so early on, I learned this idea of, you know, why am I doing this? What is my motive? Am I doing it just because somebody asked me to, if I'm doing it just to fill time? Or am I doing it because it's something that needs to be done in the church and someone needs to fill that role, someone needs to do it well, and someone needs to invest in the kids, right? And so whether it's brooming the gym and mopping, whether it's, you know, showing up and shoveling snow, the sidewalks, whether it's mowing the yard, you know, all them tedious things, like, people see, it's weird to kind of think about the progression, but, you know, people see me now, like, if you were just in the church in the last year or two, you wouldn't know all of the things that we've did, like our families did in the last 10, 11 years at Westside. I wasn't always the guy that stood on the stage. I wasn't the guy that always did the Thursday night devotional. I wasn't always the guy that had a little bit of a platform. I was the guy that shoveled the sidewalks. I was the guy that changed the furnace filters. I was the guy that swept the gym floor and moved the chairs and did that and did this and the other, you know, whatever kind of gap needed to be filled, right? And so I had to figure out pretty quickly, what was my motive? What was my motive? Was I doing it because it needed to be done and it was a role that needed to be filled in the kingdom and it was where God had me at that time and it was part of a purpose and part of a plan? Or was I just doing it to get to the next thing? right? Was I just doing it? Was I just enduring it and doing it because, well, it's got to be done. Someone's got to do it. I'll suck it up and do it. I did do some things for that reason and with that mindset. And I was convicted of that relatively quickly. Shoveling snow is important. Brooming the gym floor on a Saturday morning before the Upwards kids show up, that's important. Standing on stage preaching a sermon, that's important. Just as important is when we go to our jobs, how we act, how we talk, what we do. When we are out with our friends, what we do, how we talk, how we act. All of those roles that we play, those things are just as important. There is no differentiation for the Christian between secular and sacred. There should be no dichotomy in that. And so it just reminds me of that idea of my mindset and my mentality of what I choose to do and why I choose to do it goes a long way in providing my motivation and really the outcome for it. If I just am enduring it and it's drudgery, I don't get out of it what I should get out of it. But if I go and I do it with the right motive and the right mindset, it changes the whole context of the thing. And so I've done some things that I thought were just going to be blah, and I've had some great moments with some different people sweeping the floor, shoveling snow, fixing the roof, like just odd things that you were just think were just going to be a medial kind of task, medial job, just labor, right? And then you have these really cool organic moments that come out of those things just because you're there and you're working and you're doing what you feel like God's asking you to do, and all of a sudden you get something out of it, right? So you're not just blessing the church or blessing somebody else. All of a sudden you get blessed in return. And that's one of the biggest lessons that I've learned at Westside, and in the last 10, 11 years that we've been there, is just about every time that I think I'm blessing somebody else or I'm doing this or I'm doing that, when I'm obedient and my heart is right and my mind is right and my motive is right, God uses it to bless me. God uses it to build me up. God uses it to give me another tool in my toolbox for in the future. And so one of the biggest life lessons that I've learned is God is so much bigger and so much better than the box that I put him in, or that I tend to try to put him in. When I do service for the right mindset, with the right mindset and for the right motive, God sees it and God uses it and God honors it. And he makes like this really cool thing out of it. And it can just be something as dumb as shoveling snow or brooming the floor or whatever. But there's some really cool things that come out of conversations and different things that happen in those moments that you never have otherwise. So, I don't know. The prayer for tonight, I love the prayer. It kind of talks about what I just was talking about. It says, Lord, please remind me that service to you is not restricted to a church building or a church office position. I can do the menial task of life to your glory, though unnoticed by others. That's a struggle in our society. That is a huge... The more we get engulfed by social media, this is more of the struggle than ever. And I can do the menial task of life to your glory, though unnoticed by others. We don't want to do anything, hardly at all, maybe at all, without being noticed by others. We all want that pat on the back, right? We all want that, oh, good job. Oh, man, you did a good job mopping the floor. Man, you did a great job shoveling that snow. Man, you did a good job moving the chairs in the sanctuary. Man, but really, thank you. You know what? There's a lot of times that you're going to do something, that you're just there and you're grinding and you're working and you're doing something, and no one is going to say anything to you, right? I've been at the church before, late at night, cleaning this, cleaning that, picking up this, picking up that, trying to get stuff ready, late on a Friday night for Saturday morning for Upwards. No one's there. No one's going to notice that but one. God's going to notice. God knows, and he sees my heart, and he sees my mind, and he sees my motive behind that. And that's got to be the driving force. And when that becomes the driving force behind what you do, motive matters, and you're in a good spot. And then God's going to honor that. So that's what I got out of it for tonight. Hopefully that meant something to you. Hopefully you got something out of that. Work matters. The motive behind what you do matters. So, I don't know. Couple things. Pray for my wife, because she's married to me, because she's my wife. Pray for her for that for sure. it ain't easy being married to me. I'm pretty sure of that. But that's not. She got stung by a bee today, right in the middle of her thigh. And apparently she must be pretty allergic because her thigh is really swelled up and irritated and painful. So she's been waffling all day on whether she needs to go to emergency or not. She's decided to try to stay home and tough it out. So pray for her. Her thigh's all swelled up and irritated and that stuff. So, and then we're getting closer to school time. School schedules are coming out. Kids are trying to figure out all their new normals and all that. So continue to pray for our kids, our school administrators, our parents, and all that. Dude, it is not easy being a parent right now. I mean, it's never easy being a parent, but being a parent right now is a daunting task. If you have time, pray for parents, whether they're in Flushing or Davison or wherever. It is really rough to be a parent right now. To try to give our kids some base of normalcy, some sort of structure, but try to keep them on track and their mental well-being and all that. I mean, it is really, really, really hard to know how to deal with your kids right now. We're in uncharted territory for kids and for parents and for school administrators and all those things. So just be praying for really everybody's mental health. But I mean, kids are vulnerable. Kids are susceptible. So just be praying for the kids, and obviously be praying for the hurricane stuff. The Louisiana or wherever it is, I haven't even got on to see what else happened so far. So there is no shortage of things to pray for, that's for sure. So as I'm going to go to the Lord in prayer here real quick, and then we'll get out of here. But yeah, just be praying. Pray for motive, right? Motive matters. Pray for your motive. Pray for your own spiritual well-being as well, right? All right, Father, I thank you for your goodness. I thank you for your grace. God, I just pray that you would be with all those down south who are in the line of the storms. I just pray that you would spare people, that you would spare things, that they would just, through this, somehow, some way, you would do what you do, and that people would be able to see you and people would come to know you despite tragedy and heartache and loss and all those things. God, I'm thankful to be a Southern Baptist church and to have the peace of mind knowing that some of what we do and some of what we give is already on its way to help the people there, and that they will be blessed by Southern Baptist and the money that we've given and the things that we put into place, and that I know they do an amazing job, and I just pray that they would be able to go there and that they would be able to just wrap their arms around those that are hurting and let them know that they're there for one reason, and that's to help them, and then the next reason is because God sent them. And I just pray that they would have that right mind and that right motive, and that it would just overwhelm the people when they get there. God, I pray that you would be with our families as we start heading back to school time, that you would be with parents, that you would be with the kids, you would be with the teachers and administrators and all those people who are in that cycle of stuff. It's crazy times, it's uncharted territory, it's all of those things. But I do find confidence and comfort in knowing that none of this surprises you. That you've got a purpose, you've got a plan, and we just have to figure out what that is and step into that with whatever you would have us to do. So God, I just pray that you would be with those that are just stressed and those that are hurting, parents that are like us who are staying up half the night wondering what to do with their kids and how do we navigate this with them and all those things. So God, I just pray that you would be with each and every one of us, that you would help us to draw closer to you, draw closer and spend more time in your word, like Pastor Ed's been talking about the last couple of weeks, and that we would just have pure hearts, pure minds, pure motives to step into your will for us, wherever that is in your kingdom. God, I thank you for your goodness, and I thank you for your grace, and I thank you for your son, Jesus. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. All right, guys. I love you. Good to see you. Sunday morning, Westside, 10:45. I hope to see you there. Ed's got another great word for us in week 3 of his sermon series. So, Westside, 5090 Pasadena. If you need to know how to get there, you can call me, text me, whatever, 810-691-0383. Love you. See you later. God bless.